So my name is Pakeman. I'm the recruitment coordinator for Cal-JAC. I'm so extremely excited to sit down with you all today to have this conversation to celebrate Pride Month. Let's get started. And so we can start with, I'd love to do introductions first, if we could start with you.
My name's Iannucci. I'm an assistant chief with Sacramento Fire Department. I've been with the department for 41 years. I oversee our diversity, outreach, and recruitment division. I go by the pronouns she, her. I identify as lesbian, gay, queer, cisgender woman in the LGBTQ plus AI community. So.
My name is Tiffany Forte. I'm a firefighter with the San Francisco Fire Department. I've been in for 2 years, just 1 year fresh off of probation. So it's been sweet. It's been sweet to do this part. My pronouns, she, her. I identify as a queer, lesbian, cis woman.
Congrats on getting off probation.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you.
My name is Julie Mao. I am a battalion chief in the San Francisco Fire Department. I currently work at the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Office. I started in the San Francisco Fire Department in 2002, so I am finishing my 21st year onto my 22nd, and I love this job in this department, in this city. Wow. Oh, I identify. Yeah, my pronouns are.
Who are you?
Oh, who am I? My pronouns are she, her, and I identify as lesbian, gay, queer.
So we know that Pride Month is every month, as learned in a previous conversation. But it is celebrated for the month of June. So we're here talking about Pride. Can each of you tell me what Pride means to you?
I'm coming from a bunch of different places. So to see Pride be represented in different parts of the country and in the world is kind of cool. I'm from Canada. I've lived in Virginia, Arkansas, Georgia, Alabama, New York. And I landed here 9 years ago. And I decided, to go into this career. But when I first came here, deciding, to be a firefighter, I went to Pride, and I'm with the millions of people in the BART system, and I'm watching, my future self hopefully be involved with the parade. And I think it's kind of cool to be on this side now, to be representing in a way that I wanted to see. You know what I mean? And Pride, I think for me, I celebrate it with my friends and who I choose to be my family, and it's energy. It's just connecting, and it's a place where you get to come to a city like San Francisco, and you get to figure out who you are, starting off with your identity and moving from there. And it's such a beautiful thing to, have this expectation. You get to figure out who you are. Pride is a reminder of that, for everybody, not just for the LGBTQIA community. It's for everybody to connect, and it's a space to feel safe to do that. So Pride for me is a time of year where we get to remember to connect with yourself, get to know yourself, be yourself, because, it's boring if everyone's the same. It's so boring if everyone's the same.
That's right.
So I love this time of year. I love it. Just the way that people come together, the laughter, the music, the energy, the creativity. So I'm excited for Pride this year.
Yeah.
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 So for me, I'm born and raised in Hawaii, moved to Oregon for a couple years. My mom said, Julie, it rains in Oregon every day. I go, yeah, Mom, it rains in Hawaii every day. What's the difference? She told me it was freezing rain. I would have been like, oh my God, what is that? But I didn't get the memo. So moved to San Francisco, finished up at San Francisco State, and I joined Pride early on when it was still in the Castro, and it was a neighborhood feel, and it was kind of small, and it had a very community sense. It's since grown from there, but what's incredible about Pride is it's not just the city, right? It's the area, it's the people. It's not just the gay, lesbian, transgender community. It's everyone coming in to celebrate, to be part of that vibe and that energy where you can be yourself and you can really celebrate all that is, all the people, just the coming together and the connecting. And for me, being part of the fire department and now marching in the parade, I feel like I can be with my department, celebrate who I am, be accepted, and just be a part of this celebration. It's uplifting, validating, positive experience. Yeah.
So when you do the parade, you do it on behalf of your department as well?
Yes, yeah, we have a contingent every year. So, and I've been part of organizing that for the past few years.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So Pride for me has, it's been a metamorphosis over the years. I grew up in the Bay Area, so going to San Francisco Pride was like a big deal, and whether we were on the sidelines watching the parade or riding our motorcycles in the parade, it was just always a great amount of fun that we could just be ourselves, fully ourselves, and see so many other people showing up however they wanted to show up and being accepted and celebrated. And over the years, Pride now for me, I see it within our department and the change that's taken place within the department, allowing Pride T-shirts with rainbow colors, an accepted and approved T-shirt to wear during Pride Month for anybody who wants to wear it, and that we can wear a Pride pin on our uniform and ally pins for those who want to support Pride as well, and that being accepted and part of, and even going so far this year as the chief saying we're buying flags for all the fire stations and putting a Pride flag up every day during Pride Month. That is very prideful.
It's huge.
There's a lot of growth and an administration that's willing to lean in on that on those issues, and there's a lot of pride I have in that, and we'll be there in the parade and we'll have our antique engine and all the council members will want to fight to have a ride on that spot. So. So it's very exciting, and there's a lot of pride around that, pride in my city that they celebrate this way in Sacramento.
Why is it important for the LGBTQ plus community to consider becoming firefighters, to join this amazing profession that each of you are already in?
That's a great question.
That's a great question.
This is a job that you're serving the community, so having that representation is so important. Like by bringing a perspective and an understanding that not everybody had, because there's so many different ways that the community shows up and presents, and having that understanding and being able to ease somebody's feelings around that. Having somebody show up with an ally pin on can mean a heck of a lot of difference even. It's really important to have that understanding of community, to be of service to the community.
For me, it's LGBTQ people are part of the community. The fire service should reflect the community. It's who we are. It's part of who we are. It's part, and we talk about bringing your whole self to work,
right,
as being important, and that's one of your identities. You should feel safe coming to work and being yourself. I had a conversation with a couple of candidates who are in the hiring process with San Francisco, 2 gay men, and they came up to me and said, "Hey, Chief, I saw your video, and I want to say that I never knew that as a gay man I could be a part of this organization. But you opened a door for me, and it just lit the bulb. Like, I want to serve my community, and it's okay to be who I am." So we talk about representation, and it really does matter.
Yeah.
To show other people that, yeah, you can be here and be yourself and come to work and serve and be of service and be part of a department and part of a city, and it's a win-win. It's a win-win.
Can you talk about that Pride series?
So I was working with SF TV, which is a organization in San Francisco, and I've been working with them because of our DEI office and doing other, like a visibility campaign and doing the different months and representing different folks in our department, EMS and suppression, just so that we can push that out to the world and the community to say, here, this is, can you see yourself in this? Mm-hmm. Can you see yourself doing this job? Because here's someone who might look like you or might have a shared lived experience that you can connect to. And I know for me, like it didn't really resonate with me that this was an opportunity or this was an option until I started looking at people in the rigs and people in the department, and I went, that person looks like me. I could see myself. Hey, there's a woman there. Hey, this, yeah, okay, this makes sense. All right, okay, and boom, the light bulb went on. So when we say visibility and representation matters, it really does. I mean, it comes down to people watching you, seeing you. Even the little kids, right? When we open the door and we go, hey, or ring the bell, hey, and they go, Yeah, that could be you.
Yeah.
That could be you, you know? It really does matter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same, all of that. You know, representation. I think just with the talk about representation, equity, and equality being, you know, more important now, it's nice to see it actively somewhere that you may potentially, for people that are trying to get into this career or thinking about it, it's nice to see that there may be an opportunity for them to find someone to relate to. Because like the job itself is for anybody that can do it, right? That wants to do it, puts their time and effort into it and continues to learn it. But it's you're at a house, you know, you're at stations and you're sitting with people at the dinner table, and you kind of want to see who you may be talking with. You want to who you're getting to know. And for me, it's one, seeing women. I you know, in Canada, I grew up around firefighters. I have family members that are firefighters, and I didn't see a lot of women, but I thought it was really cool. You know, I put the stuff on and walk around with these turnouts hanging off of me.
I can do this.
Right? You know, and then growing up, I was, you know, deciding my career, and I did my ride-alongs, and I was like, yeah, this feels good. And then being in the Bay Area, you know, volunteering with different departments and just kind of getting my feet wet, seeing what it's like, and being able to meet people and hearing them be like, no, really, this is a good place for you to be. You know, the job is working with community. You know, you're going into people's homes all day, at any time of the day. And it's nice to be able to go into a community that I can relate to and that can relate to me. And there are certain things that change depending on which part of the city you're in and, you know, which demographic you're around. And it's important to be able to remember that and just be able to connect with people in general, no matter where you are. I think with, you know, my identity, I feel like I'm able to connect with a lot of different people. And it's important to remember that we're just people. And the way that we move around in the world is individual movement, but to be able to connect and for people to see themselves be represented in a department or job that they might want to be in is super important.
It reminds me, when just out of your conversation, what you were saying is being at the, you know, the firehouse is very family, team oriented, and you're sitting at the table and you're there and you're talking about, you know, your partner or your wife or your husband, and creating an opportunity for conversation around what might be different for some people. And that in turn is like the value add to the organization, because then they start to understand, it's like, oh, you fight just the same way we fight, and, you know, or have, you know, the same issues going on, and there's, you know, no mystery around it, which allows them to then go out in the community and not have any, you know, preconceived ideas about something. They're more connected through affiliation, association, bonding, being at the dinner table together and having those candid conversations.
Yeah, and I think that makes us closer in, right? Because all of a sudden the LGBTQ plus community is not out there. It's right here. We're having dinner together. We're like sitting, we're fighting fires. We're going on EMS calls. We're right here working together.
Yeah.
I think about, you know, the language that the community uses and has and gets to use to help identify ourselves, and, you know, being able to represent that and to be around people who might not understand language and how important language is and how we communicate with people, talking about pronouns, and, you know, meeting people in this city where identity is a huge spectrum, and then just finding the sensitivity sometimes to communicate with the people around you, and also to, you know, to sometimes it can be exhausting to have to explain your identity or who you are to people. And part of, I feel my responsibility is, part of it is to help people see someone else's identity and respect it, and to share what I know about it. so that when they go out and speak to people and engage with people in the community that might be represent themselves in ways that they don't understand. Hopefully there can be a moment where there was a conversation we got to have, and it's like, oh, this is what she was talking about. So I think just being who I am and showing up that way helps with that.
I have a question. I want to get to this question about why the fire service and all of that. But before I get there, because of what you were just saying about the community and responding and dinner and all of these things, when you're responding on different calls, are there subtle ways that you inform the community of how you identify to make them feel more comfortable? Is that something you're able to do or that you do on calls?
Gosh.
I feel like,
you're gonna have it's been so long since I've gone on a call. Right?
I mean, you do get the nods and you get the assumptions sometimes. My haircut is, pretty interesting.
Fly.
It's just, I mean, I like it. It's a good haircut. I like it. It fits under my helmet. When people see you, people feel comfortable. They might ask you, and then you get to talk to them. And then there are things that you might see in someone's home or what they're wearing or kind of what they're doing to show off some of their memorabilia or just some of the things that they do to represent who they are. And, family, that's, what's up, family? It's Pride Month. And I've seen people with hats on and I'm like, Happy Pride. And they're like, yeah, whether they identify as gay, queer, lesbian, bisexual, trans, whatever they identify with, I see that they're at least representing that they care about what pride is, and it's exciting for them. And whether they tell me that they are gay or not, they're showing up, and sometimes people start a conversation that way. Sometimes, it gets rolling, and you get to see who else around you is like, oh, okay, yeah, I might feel comfortable talking to you about something, or I don't know, it's...
We don't have a secret handshake or anything.
No, there's no secret
handshake. No secret handshake that I'm aware of. Anyway.
Two chin ups.
But that brings to mind. I had to think back because it's been a while since I've been a firefighter responding to calls, right? But I was responding to calls during the AIDS epidemic when there are a lot of people really suffering, and oftentimes crews didn't quite know what to do or didn't have enough understanding around it, which I had learned a lot about it, and just showing up and showing more compassion and not being afraid to touch somebody and like, hey, I'm here for you, what do you need? And just showing that would open up a door for individuals, whether they thought I was, how I identified, as a lesbian or not. People just want to feel cared for,
Yes.
And that's, I was able to bring that, and it opened the door for, crew members. I was like, okay, nothing bad happened. I guess we're okay, and I can remember sometimes like responding maybe with some trans people and stupid comments, of crew members. This was a long time ago. It's not stuff that we would put up with, today, but, just stepping right up and like, you know what, you don't have to listen to him. You can talk with me, and you don't have to worry about, anything. And just that level and like kind of standing up in front of, the person that made the dumb comment, it kind of made a difference too. And it's like, oh, okay, that wasn't cool around Kim. So.
Yeah. And two, I think having our perspective in the fire service, we can be advocates
Yes.
for people, and how people get treated. Maybe there's sideways comments or something that some people say that are a little ignorant. You can just go, hey, that's not acceptable. Like, stop.
Yeah, exactly.
And go back to what's our mission? How do we treat people? How do we serve people, with respect and compassion?
Yep.
No matter who you are.
Absolutely.
So this time last year we were selling Pride T-shirts, right? And they're pretty awesome, if I have to say so. Pretty awesome. And my station said, "Hey, Kevin, can we get Pride T-shirts? Like, you have my size." And they all bought Pride T-shirts, and I'm like, this is so amazing, right? That not only I feel supported, but they're supporting the cause. They're supporting Pride, and we all took a picture together, and it was like
awesome.
such a beautiful thing. I mean, really, so having allies,
Yes.
right, there to understand and have that sensitivity and feel supported as LGBTQ plus people, in the fire service is incredible.
They like the shirts. They're like very
pretty
colorful,
awesome. Yes.
and they,
Yes.
you know,
Agreed.
and they want them. So
Yes.
I love that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think for me, I'm coming into it already established.
Yes.
You know, so, you know, to 41 and how 20?
22, starting
22 coming up. I mean, it's like the efforts that have been made, you know, from the AIDS epidemic, pandemic. Wow.
Yeah.
And, you know, just your career too, and being in the city, it's so progressive as far as like the rights of, you know, queer, gay people, lesbian, bisexual, trans people. There's always steps, and there's steps that we have to step back sometimes, which is unfortunate. And then, you know, thinking about Pride, you know, how initially it was a riot. It wasn't so beautiful and so colorful and so easy, and the energy. I mean, the energy was there, but it was different. And, you know, I think it's just important to remember it came from, you know, a lot of fear and a lot of hurt and pain and loss. And I think it's really important to remember, like, that is how also we relate to one another, is we go through all of these things in our own lives. It doesn't matter where we come from. We go through these things. And if you could just remember that, we all go through things, and we all need love and support from people regardless of what you believe in. I think that's one thing I feel like with this career, being a firefighter, when it comes down to it, we got to put out the fires. We got to take care of our crew. We got to, like, you know, remember our roles, play those roles, and trust that it's your role is just as important as the next role. But remembering, like, we have to connect. We have to open ourselves up to who people are. And sometimes people's experience isn't always safe. It isn't always welcoming. And some people come here to get away from what is dangerous for them. And coming in, showing up as a person in this community might not be so safe for them. And I think it's really important to know, like, with our department, there's safety there. And there's comfort, and there's this ability to kind of settle in a little bit more than maybe what they're used to. And I mean, personally, I know people who have lost their family because of their identity. And I didn't. I had the privilege of still feeling the nerves and feeling all the you know, fear about loss that comes with this identity. I didn't experience that, and there are people that do, and, you know, my experience has been positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that's it's such a loaded question that I have. At least for me, just being adopted. So when I think about the lady who adopted me and a couple of my sisters, absolute angel. Shout out to mommy.
Hey, mom.
Hey, mommy. With that, though, just this idea of family and this idea of chosen family. And so this is, you've kind of hinted on this a little earlier, too. You know, coming out can lead, and it can lead to so many different paths. You know what I mean? Sometimes people do lose their family. That's not everyone's experience, but that can definitely happen. And the fire service presents this family-oriented component of the job. Can you speak to the family aspect and how that resonates? You know, knowing that it might not be a safe space, you might not be coming from a safe space, or just kind of whatever your experience is.
So I'll say a couple things about that. And again, my perspective is historical in nature. So fire service is very family oriented. It's one of the things we tell people all the time. You know, like, if coming into the fire service, it's a second family. Like, you hear that repeatedly. And, you know, so for me early on, you know, I was a woman in the fire service, and 2, I was a gay woman in the fire service. Family doesn't happen quite right away, right? And so, you know, there was some struggles early on, but again, with time, as you're showing up to work every day, and you're doing your work, and you're, you know, checking all the boxes that you're supposed to check to get through probation and get to the next step, people start to get to know you, and you can't not get to know each other sitting around a fire station, sitting around a table, drinking coffee, reading the paper, eating dinner. It just happens anyways, regardless of, you know, who that person across from you might not be somebody, you know, you go out to a movie with or something, but it starts to happen. And that's when, you know, the doors kind of start to open up, where the next people coming behind you, it's a little easier and a little easier, and it doesn't take quite as long. And so that family is there. And, you know, I'm happy that, you know, the generation today can step into that a lot more easily and be more accepted. And, you know, not just as a woman or as LGBTQ plus community, but as any different, or you know, whether it's your religion or you know, how you identify, or you know, how you look, it's much more accepted, and family comes a lot quicker. Yeah. There's still issues. It's not perfect, but
That's right.
It comes a lot easier with time. You know, the realization is there.
I think for me and my experience is very similar to you coming in. It was more the woman thing, and then woman of color. And there's assumptions made about me, right, being Asian Pacific Islander. So having to deal with those layers, I think was something to work through. And again, everybody has a different comfort level, so not everybody's out, not everybody's in. And I think in the fire service, we're so enmeshed together. Like you said, there's no way you cannot know people. As a family, we also get on each other's nerves, just like a regular family, you know. But you find, yes, that too, right? Yes, for better for worse. Okay, it's about people. So, but really, within that family, I think you find your other family, right? People who really connect with you, people you have affinity for, and it kind of surprises me too that there are people who have different lived experiences. That you go to a fire, you go to a call, or you work together, and you've been challenged, you've you know, been at incidents where you're just like, you know what, I completely trust you. You're my brother, you're my sister. Like we're here together, and you know, maybe that wouldn't have been an assumption I had previously, but through the work, we've made connections in different ways that go beyond identity, that go beyond our experiences, our own personal life experiences. Yeah. You know, and that's an incredible thing to see. You know, because I wouldn't have thought that, you know, so-and-so or so-and-so would have been someone I would have connected to, and then you find that possibility is there, and it just kind of deepens your understanding of life and of people.
Especially when it comes from the person you least expected it from.
Oh yeah, you'd be surprised. You'd really be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is surprising sometimes. It's like, oh, nobody gets left behind really has meaning. You know, it's like, it is something, it is a thing.
Yes, it is a thing.
And it's important, and it's a credo that the fire service lives by, which is important to know.
Yeah, I mean, my first fire family was, I guess, people that I worked with trying to get in. And we're at different places, different departments, some at this department, and then they become your classmates. And then our classmates are technically like our first fire family. Those are who we, you know, go through our 5 months of that training with. And I must say, I feel like the class that I was in, we had each other. We were a little bit smaller. We were at our tower during COVID. So it was just inevitable that we would be a little bit closer. And those are people that I still reach out to, you know, and I think I will continue to reach out to, you know. You know, we laugh together, we kick it, you know, when we're working and we see there's a fire or something happening, we're texting and communicating, like, what's going on, what happened? And then, you know, because we're all staying connected, we get to learn the job. Like, we get to learn what they're doing on calls, because we don't get to go to everything, right? Right. So we're learning from who we already feel comfortable with is the people that surprisingly we're close with. Right. Classmates that I would have not ever met.
Right. Yeah.
Ever, probably. And these are people that, you know, I'm giving them a hug, like popping their head off, giving them a hug. You know, that's my brother, my sister, you know, or my sis. And it's really cool to have that experience. And, you know, it kind of helps you shake off the assumptions that even I make. Some of the, you know, just maybe some experiences that I've had with people. And, you know, when you sit around people, you can decide to have a conversation with them or not. But the good thing about showing up, being real, is they get to know you for real. They get to know you for real. And as you continue to grow in your career, you know, like that person is who they are. They're being real. It's not always easy, but it helps. It helps when you start that way. Yeah.
And so much of this job is about trust.
Yeah, for sure.
Trusting each other, trusting your teammates, trusting your work people. You know, it's
Yeah.
we rely on each other, really,
Yeah.
life or death. We rely on each
Absolutely.
other.
Yeah, there's so many layers of that, so many layers of family. Like, you know, you're like you were saying, when you're seeking the job, there's your group of people that are all trying to get hired, and then the academy, and, you know, the cadre does a great job of driving you all to love each other because, you know, that's all you got right now every day out there.
Right.
So, yeah, there's a lot of layers to family in the fire service.
No, I was going to say, I mean, even now, you know, I'm sitting next to Chief Mao, who, I mean, I knew before I got in, it was like, what is this woman saying? I will listen, you know?
Yeah.
And just the efforts of, you know, including everybody and making it visible for them to have this opportunity. And it's up to them to show up ready, and it's up to them to want to do it and all of that. But to see somebody who really cares about representation in a city, especially like San Francisco, the representation of all these different groups of people. And then now I get to work with her, and as a mentor too. So it's really, you know, surreal, honestly. And, you know, to meet you and just your experience, like the generation and the time that is here, and then I'm just a little baby. Just getting started. You know, it's cool. It's really
It's
cool.
exciting though. It's, you know, I love the new generation coming in.
Yeah.
You know, you're our future, and so I love the outlook and the positivity that y'all bring.
There are definitely generational vibes at the table. And so from that perspective, you know, I think it's really interesting. Speak to how the fire service has changed to become more welcoming of the LGBTQ plus community. And I can imagine, you know, from each of your perspectives that may be very different.
I mean, this.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah. Thank you, you know, Cal-JAC CPF for doing these types of programs. That's, you know, that is where, you know, change starts to occur, where people Googling something in the fire, like pride in the fire service or whatever hashtag they're going to find, it's like, this is something they could land on. It's like,
yeah.
oh, cool, you know, and so that's where, you know, that's a huge, like right now happening change, you know, definitely.
For better, for worse, I think the fire service also reflects society and the changes that society has made. In California, 2008, you know, when gay marriage was open in California, and that's when my wife and I got married. Right, Wendy? That it just became like a norm, like, oh, okay, yeah, of course. Of course you get, you know, be married to the person you love and start a family. And then I think the generations from there just went, yeah. So it's a norm now, and I think the fire service has reflected that change as well. You know, and I think that then this pendulum swings this way a little bit, and people, you know, we get a little bit of that going on too, where people are not as comfortable. Yes, it's better, and we still have work to do.
Right.
You know, we still have work to do because it's important to create space for other people and to allow people to be themselves. And we can say it up and down in our mission statement, our value statement, our you know, vision statement, but to live it is a challenge, right? And to break down biases and prejudices that maybe we came with or other people came with that they haven't done the work to get through the other side is a challenge. You know, I'm not going to say it's all rosy. It's better than it used to be, that's for sure. But we still have work to do. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it has been a road, and it does. There are little, you know, diversions sometimes. It's like, really, we're back there again? How did that happen? You know.
Right.
I remember one time one of the local LGBTQ newspapers wanted to interview me and do an article, and I made sure I was okay with my chief and all that, and so I did an article hoping that I would appeal to other young LGBTQ plus community members that they could be part of the fire department. It's not like we gave them out to the stations or anything, but the newspaper started circulating around the fire stations, and I had like this one individual who was really upset about the whole thing and couldn't believe it, and he kind of confronted me with the whole thing, and I'm like, well, I did get permission to do this publication, and I'm really happy to hear that all the fire stations are so well read. And like he didn't know, he didn't know what to do.
That's really good. That's really
Nice
good.
reframe.
Right. And it was funny because he came back to me later and he shared an experience on why he was so upset, and experience as a young person had kicked in and it had triggered it, and that's why he confronted me the way he did. But it opened up a door of conversation, and we became good friends after that. I think even more representative of like the safety net that's kind of being built in the fire service now around these issues is showed up in our youth academy, 31 kids, and like 7 of those kids identified in the LGBTQ plus community. It's like, we didn't like recruit for it. They showed up, and not only did they show up, they had no problem being themselves, and none of the other kids cared.
Yes.
And that's our high school kids today, and that's what gives me hope and just excitement about like, oh, okay, we have our young generation doesn't really care about this stuff. Like, it's not an issue. It's a non-issue for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think the young generation is definitely more fluid. Mm-hmm. Like, they're not into boxes or,
Nope.
I'm just this or I'm just. It's like hey,
Yep.
it's all good. Like it's we. It's like there's.
Yeah.
It's not such a defined lines.
Oh, your pronouns are they? No problem. They have no problem saying the pronouns.
Correct.
Like I still have to sometimes think about it for a second before it rolls off my tongue. So.
Yeah. Well, and as an organization too, Cal-JAC, the CPF, we're doing our best to create more spaces like this, to curate spaces where that feel safe to have conversations like this, to honor and to celebrate the different folks, heritages, cultures, all of the above. So I definitely very much appreciate what you were saying just on behalf of the organization. And even with Firestar, just the expansion of services that we're able to offer. We're able to come into this beautiful space and have this conversation today. So we definitely want to continue that. And so getting to the youth part of it, any words of wisdom for people watching that want to get into the fire service, maybe people that want to come into the fire service, they're not comfortable living their life out loud yet. Any words of wisdom for that group?
Thinking about what it was like to try to get hired and get in and meet people and connect and see if these are people that I want to connect with and work with for the next 25, 30 years, I think it's important to actually have conversations with people and meet with them. Do your visits, go to station visits, make an effort, show up correct, put the effort in, and just remember that it stops with you. If you decide to keep going, good job. And if it's what you want to do, keep on going, keep on doing it, keep on making connections. And if you decide to change your path, that's okay, as long as it's for you. Sometimes it can take a long time to do it. That can be a deterrent. But just stay focused on it. If it's something you really want to do, have your mentors, trust your mentors that are in the department or, maybe retired or whoever they are, listen to them, don't take for granted the information that you're given, and take it seriously. Take it seriously. It might seem surreal to actually have this accomplishment or, have a goal and to do it. And then you do it. And then you get through the tower. You have your challenges and things happen and you work your way through them. After all of that, I would say just remember that each step you take as you get closer to accomplishing the goal of being a firefighter, you have a little bit more room to breathe. But just stay on your toes, stay ready. There is a place for you in the department. There's a place for you to someday feel comfortable enough to show up and give it back so that someone else sees you and wants to come in and show up however they show up. Just hold on to that. Be real. Take your breath. Keep moving. Make your connections. I know for me, all I am, I owe.
Can you say that again, please?
All I am, I owe. I live eternally in the red. And this is something that I've, from the first time of trying to get this job, like the first study session, the first meeting, I was a part of Oakland Black Firefighters Association and a part of San Francisco Black Firefighters Association. And that motto for me stung so good because there are people that have taken these steps that I otherwise didn't have to take, that has made it easier for the younger generation, like myself, to come in with a little less to have to do and to have to like be strong and hold strong. And then now there are younger people who are like, our meter, the meter that you have as you get older, it's just to forget about it. Meter, right?
The gas meter.
Right,
Meter.
right. And then you have like
The gas meter.
us that are like, you just kind of like let go of those things a little bit. It's fun. The job is fun. The job is a lot of fun. And it can be challenging to find your place. I'm still learning to find my place, but I'm showing up for real. And then when there are moments when I'm, maybe a little bit more quiet or reserved, I'm just analyzing and getting to know myself a little bit more. And then I reach out to my mentors and I reach out to people that I trust and, peers that I trust. And we talk and we are there for one another. We really are. And it's people you really sometimes don't expect. And it's just trust that. I think just trust that. Yeah.
For a young person, looking to get into the fire service, no matter how you identify, try to find like-minded people that are on the same journey, because then you can start having the struggle together, because it is a journey and it is a struggle. Whether it's in your EMT classes or your fire technology classes, or and if you can get find a volunteer department to start getting connected and really knowing like what department, like researching that department. Where do I want to be? What community do I want to serve? Do I want to serve in the community I grew up with, or do I want something different? And any decision, it's your journey that you have to make and decide. And whether you're out and fully yourself, or you're you have your own path that's for you to get through. And then there's always going to be somebody in one of the departments that you will be able to resonate with and connect with and get the mentorship you need. There are departments like ours that have recruitment divisions that kind of create that mentorship for you and can connect you. And so if you find a department like that, then look for that. We will connect you with the right person that we think you might identify best with and can help you make your decisions and get to that next step. But try to find like-minded individuals, because that will keep you on the right path to the struggle and getting to that next phase. And maybe you'll end up being in your academy together.
Yeah.
And for people, with different comfort levels, that's okay. You don't have to be completely out. There's some people in our department who are not out, and it's okay. Really, people want to know that you're genuine, that you can work with others, that you can do your job, that you care. Those are the good, meaty parts of this job, right? And what people really are concerned about and getting along. That being said, there's a place for everyone. There's a place for everyone to be here, to be part of the fire service.
To make sure that we're also speaking directly to folks that may be watching that are questioning, that aren't out yet. Maybe they're still figuring out what out means and still kind of working their way through that. Any words of wisdom, for that particular group who this episode may be speaking to in a much more specific way?
People don't always know where they're at, and so you might, think you're like this is your life, and then suddenly some things, you work through some things, and it's like, okay, my pronouns are changing. I'm, moving into a different phase of my life. We have an individual on our department that shows up that way now, and that person is very open to any questions anybody has about that. My point in bringing it up is, our department, my experience has been that. It's like, okay, that's what this person is going through. It's just another transition in this individual's life, that now they are able to be even more self-expressed and more fully themselves, and allow for the questions that so many people have around those kind of, life changes. And so, I'm saying that possibility is out there for individuals who aren't sure. Just, you don't have to be sure. You'll know when you're sure. And that there is space for that in the fire service. I've seen it.
And just the words of wisdom that I shared with some of the candidates coming in who are of the LGBTQ plus community: be yourself. Mm-hmm. Be yourself. And that's what we were told when we first came in. Mm-hmm. Be genuine, be yourself. Mm-hmm. And that it rings true no matter who you are or how you identify. And an old timer who's retiring 30 plus years said yesterday, this job is about taking care of each other.
At the beginning, right now, there's so many ways to try to figure out, how you show up, taking care of the house, taking care of the people around you, taking care of yourself, making sure you do the things outside of work that help take care of your mental, your physical, your spiritual, I don't have children. I'm not married. I'm partnered, but I'm not married, and I have a dog. But people have families, and I don't know how they do it. They really figure it out. And even like for those people who are like, well, I have all these things, these kids and my wife or husband, whoever, what do I do? And it's just reach out to people. They figure it out. They do it. And having real conversations, even with your family, kind of helps you keep moving forward. But as far as like showing up as I am at work, I'm still learning how to do that. I'm still learning how to show up and bring myself and just kind of sit back and relax into it. And I know who I am, very clear about that, but just inserting myself and showing, how I can, be there for other people if I need to be. Doing stuff like this is great. It's great. It's something that, I could imagine seeing something like this. I'd be like, oh yeah, okay. It's helpful. It's helpful to see like women of color, and all different backgrounds. It speaks volumes when you have fire departments who otherwise wouldn't have supported difference and the category of other, right? What that means, and to be in those categories and be like, okay, and yeah. What I really like about this is the job. I like the job. Like, we're here to be firefighters. We're here to show up. Everyone, I want to help. I want to have that direct impact on people's lives in the moment that they need it. And staying focused on your why is important. And you have to remind yourself of that sometimes. Yep. Staying focused on your why, and remember that's bigger than you. It's bigger than the people in the house. It translates everywhere. So I think just remembering that is important.
I want to thank each of you for being here today, for sharing your stories, and for coming all the way to Sacramento.
All the way.
All the way to Sacramento. To sit down and have this conversation with us. It's my hope that it's the beginning of a continued conversation. And so may we do this again someday.